Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Skagit Storytellers. Episode 2 of Season 4. Just moving right along. My guest today is Wedge Michaels. He was recommended to me by Shane Gildnes from Fanny Alger. Shane said that Wedge had a lot of really cool stories about playing music in the Valley and all over Washington, as well as being a radio DJ in Montana, Skagit County, and Alaska. He's not only a drummer, but he's also a guitar player too. The first time I saw him play was at Shipwreck Fest in Anacortes this past summer. He joined Fanny on stage for a song, and check out this timing. In the episode, he says that he loves when Fanny Alger plays the old Edison. And if you're listening to this podcast on the day that it releases, October 11th, 2025, there is a Fanny Alger show tonight at the old Edison. You'll see Wedge and I in the crowd, but only one of us will get on stage and play. Come on out and see who that is. All right, if you're browsing the many local music events in the Valley and you see a band called the Phantom Hippies, go to their show. That's the band that Wedge calls his own, and I love in the episode how he shares a little bit about his members and how he met them and everything. Ooh, a little bit of a writing update. The next meeting for the Skagit Storytellers Podcast Writers Support Group is Friday, October 24th from 4:45 to 5:45 at the Central Skagit Library. I used to make it 5 to 6, but they are very, very, very strict with getting you out before 6. And that's fine. So we adjusted. We're just 15 minutes before that. Come on out to the writing support group right before the Halloween party at Cats. The Weirds, one of our favorite bands, is playing that night. We're going to dress up. It's going to be a blast. So speaking of writing, I finally pulled the trigger, and you'll find 2 of my posts on Substack. I wasn't actually sure how you'd find them. I didn't even know I had a link. So I Googled Substack Liz Duffy, and there's a writer out there that goes by Elizabeth Duffy. She's really into vaccines and the harp. So just a heads up, that's not me. I have my link tree in every podcast description online. And so if you click that, I have it in my IG accounts too. If you click that, you'll find the right person, me. Okay, thank you as well. One last thank you to my Substack crew for motivating me to post a second time. That's Chris Aiken, Amanda Summers, and Thaddeus. Okay, Wedge, I appreciate you trusting me with your story. So glad you came over. And Dad, I know you're going to love this one. Have a great week, be of use, and go do something hard.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers
with Liz Duffy. I like to start these podcasts off with talking about how we met. I met you at Shipwreck 2 weeks ago, but Shane Gildnes had told me, he said, I was just talking to Wedge. You should interview him. He has so many great stories about the music in the Valley, and he's just a great storyteller too. And so I'm glad that we finally connected. And I saw you play guitar with Fanny Alger. And then when you came in, you said you were a drummer, and I was like, whoa, that's a whole new thing. I think I've learned 5 things about you since you sat down.
Well, first of all, kudos to Shane and Fanny Alger, because I love those guys.
Well, we'll get to that later. Shane told me a whole bunch of things. He said, ask him about this, ask him about this. So, but I thought, we'll hear your story first. Were you born in the Valley?
No, I was born in Ballard. Grew up on Crown Hill, Greenwood, that area.
And that's where you started playing music?
No, I was singing. I was told by my grandfather I've been singing since I was 2. Whatever, they probably had country songs on. I do remember riding with my grandmother on Camino. I grew up between Ballard and Camino Island. And my grandmother, the radio would be on, and Sugar Time by the McGuire sisters would be on. So they were listening to pop music too. So, but no, I've been doing music.
Did your parents not play music?
My parents didn't play music at all. My mom really liked music. My dad did too, but he owned a gas station in Snohomish. So we ended up living in Lake Stevens. That's where we went from Ballard to Lake Stevens. He was also a part-time policeman. So, there was this kind of this battle going on between me and him. You're not going to be a musician. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Da, da, da. Well, anyway, when I went out on my own, I went and did it, and I'm still doing it.
Did you play music in school? Like elementary, high school?
I played in high school.
Yeah.
I started when I was 12 playing drums. When I heard the Yardbirds do Heart Full of Soul, I had to do something. I didn't know what it was going to be. Nobody would get me a guitar, so I just started beating on cans and things. And that's how I learned how to play. And, I'm really not a schooled musician. I didn't really take a lot of lessons, but I just kept playing.
It was just in you.
That's all I ever wanted to do, And I was a pretty angry young man, a young kid. There was a lot of weird stuff going on, but drums helped me get through things. Instead of hitting somebody, I hit a drum. Sometimes it was musical and sometimes it wasn't. Whack a whack a whack. Yeah.
When you were playing in high school, after high school, did you go to college?
No, I went out into the college of life. I just took off and made mistakes and partied too much and did all that stuff.
Was that down south, or did you come up here? Did you travel?
No, I was in Centralia for a while, and went to California, hitchhiked to California, did a lot of hitchhiking, and then came back, I was in Everett, and then I ended up over in eastern Washington, in Orville, and Tonasket, and Okanagan, and those were my first gigs. The first paying gig I ever did was the Snohomish Grange Hall, and I don't even remember how much. I don't think we made very much money.
What was the name of your band?
I don't even remember that anymore. That's like 1972, and things just kind of get foggy after that.
What were you doing? What were your jobs you were doing in between? Just kind of anything to make
a lumber mill. I worked in a plywood plant in Centralia. Picked apples in Orville, and ended up working at a lumber mill in Omak at Biles and Coleman. Worked there, and that's when I bought my first really good drum set, was from working there. I had the first drum set I bought was in '68. I think I paid $125 for it. My dad took me down to Seattle, and we went to a secondhand shop, and I still have the cymbal from that set. And it's got a great big gouge in it, And it's just been beat on and stuff. The thing still sounds really great, but I don't use it out in public. I don't want anybody.
Should frame it, put it in
I don't want anybody to steal it from me.
And so you said your first paying gig was in '72.
Yeah, that was in '72, and like I said, I don't remember what we made. But really, the first professional gig I ever did was at the U&I Tavern in Orville.
Okay.
And I was making $50, and that was like '74, playing country music. And I didn't really play country music. I wasn't conscious that I did, but I learned how to do it, and I couldn't get a job in a rock and roll band, so I was playing country. So I was learning this new genre that I'd never really played before. And then when I went back and started listening to what I'd grown up on, I started realizing that a lot of the stuff that was on the radio had country in it. The Beatles have country in them. The Beatles were really a rockabilly band. Their heroes were Elvis and Buddy Holly and Hank Williams and all those guys. They were like one beat apart from that. So I started listening to things, even the Stones, there's things in the Stones. There's country in there, like The Last Time. It swings. It's got this thing,
Did you sing as well as play the drums?
I've always been singing since I was
But while you're playing in a band, were you also singing while playing?
Yeah, I sing while I play.
Not drums. Many. I don't see many drummers doing that. I've seen Sonny Brown of the Dimes. He sings while he plays, but it's very rare.
Yeah, I do. I sing. I'm not a real strong harmony singer. It's something that's always eluded me. If I get in a studio and I listen to the note that I have to sing, I can come up with it. But being on stage, for some reason, sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't. But I can sing lead. I was in Orville till 76. I was there from 72 to 76. And actually, I was living in Tonasket. I moved out of Orville and went to Tonasket. And I left in 76 and came to Seattle and called up a musicians union in Renton, a guy named Scotty. I always loved that guy. I mean, I'm sure he's gone. It's a long time ago.
How did you meet him?
I just called him up.
Oh.
Somebody told me, he said, well, I was going around looking for gigs, Well, you got to call Scotty. He might have some work. So I called him up, and he got me this gig. And all of a sudden, I'm in a disco, kind of a disco band, and we're doing, shake, shake, shake your booty, that stuff, But, I was playing.
Yeah.
And so we were in Seattle, and then we ended up going to Salt Lake City, and that's some of the most fun I've ever had playing in Salt Lake.
Oh, I've never even been there.
Everybody thinks Salt Lake is this really uptight, sedate town, and I'm sure there's an element of that somewhere in there because of, the politics of the Mormon faith and whatever, but, and if you're a rock and roller in town, they probably don't like you or whatever. But boy, that town rocks. It's like the yin and yang thing, It's like you got this big temple over here, but the rest of there's a whole bunch of people that aren't doing that. Salt Lake is a really hopping town. And I was back there 20 years ago, and it was still the same way.
Yeah. And how long were you in Salt Lake for?
Oh, 3 or 4 months.
Oh, okay.
But then I was in that band. I can't tell you how many bands I've been in. I've lost count. I don't even know. I got tired of playing Muskrat Love by Captain and Tennille and all this kind of wimpy stuff, and so I just went and got a country gig at a Western bar in Salt Lake, and oh man, that was an education.
Why?
They used to get headliners there, and Jody Miller played there one night. And Jody Miller, she had a sort of a hit called Queen of the House in like 66. Roger Miller had a hit called King of the Road, so she had an answer record called Queen of the House. And this is like 9 years later, and I walk backstage, and there's Jody Miller there. And I say, hey, Jody, how you doing? I'm Wedge. And she goes, oh, hi. I said, well, how are you? And she goes, I just want to go home. I said, what, really? She goes, I'm tired of the music business. I got a ranch down in Oklahoma, and I just want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore. I said, well, okay. I said, want me to hang out with you for? I'd really appreciate that. So I hung out with her for like an hour, and then she went out on stage and did her thing, and then she left. But yeah, there was another funny story with that. I was talking to the piano player, and he says, yeah, you see that keyboard there? I said, yeah, it's a Wurlitzer. I said, I really like Wurlitzer pianos. He says, yeah. He says, well, see the keys that are taped down? And I go, yeah. And he goes, yeah, well, we were playing somewhere, and Jerry Lee Lewis, his manager, came in. And he came in like 2 or 3 times, and then one night he came in with Jerry. And the manager walked up and said, hey, I'm Jerry Lee Lewis's manager, and Jerry'd like to play with you guys. Oh, really? God, that'd be great. Yeah, get him up. So Jerry's sitting at the piano, and the piano player goes, well, Mr. Lewis, this is really going to be great, but we've got some of the keys taped down because they're bad notes. They're not in tune, so we just got them taped down so we don't sound bad. And he goes, son, you could tape all the keys down, and the killer would still make it talk. So
That's good.
That's rock and roll. Yeah. No ego here. Yeah. So we went to Salt Lake, and then I went home.
Where was home?
Lake Stevens.
Okay.
And then my father passed away. So we went through that. And then I immediately went back out on the road again with another band called Waco. And I was in Montana and Idaho and Wyoming and all those places.
At this point, was your dad like, okay, it's like before, was he like, okay, it's fine to be a musician? Like he had accepted it?
He accepted it when I was in high school.
Okay.
When I played with the big band. And I remember he wasn't a musician, but one of the best music lessons I ever got from him was going, well, you know, this rock and roll thing you're doing is all right, he says, but you need to diversify. You need to get into swing music. And so I ordered these Time Life box sets that you see them in record stores. They're everywhere. And I ordered those, and I got into swing music. And he came home and he says, "Wow, you can really play. Okay, I'm going to leave you alone."
Oh.
And I think that might have been when I started believing in God. Thank you, because it was rough. It was loggerheads between me and him before that.
Yeah.
And after that, he left me alone. And that and playing country, that helped my playing, because I still like to play rock and roll, but I like to play country and I like to play swing, and I love Western swing music, and those are avenues I probably might not have pursued,
Yeah.
if he hadn't said something,
Yeah.
So, and I still like swing music. If you ask me what my favorite songs are, my first rock song comes in at number 8. Everything before that is a big band tune. Every one of them. Tenderly, Rosemary Clooney, At Last, Etta James, I Only Have Eyes for You, Flamingos. All those songs were written in the 30s. Those are my favorite songs, And then at number 8 is Shaken All Over by the Guess Who. That's my favorite rock and roll song. I would come home once in a while, but I was on the road until I met my wife in 1980 in Wenatchee, and I was playing in a band in Wenatchee.
You met her at a gig?
Yeah. And she's not a party girl, but she likes country music. So she wanted to go out and listen to some music. So she was working in a bar serving drinks, and I remember my mom, I was really frustrated. I told my mom, I said, "God," I said, "I can't find anybody." I said, I feel like I'm lost. I don't know what to do, She goes, "Well, when you see her, you'll know it." So one night I was playing, and she walked in front of the bandstand, and the light went on, and I went, "That's her." So I went over and introduced myself to her. And then when I realized how wholesome she was, I kind of backed away. I backed away a little bit. And then she got mad at me, "How come you're avoiding me?" And I said, "Well, you're pretty nice." I said, "I'm kind of used to hanging around with rock and roll chicks, And so anyway, we got married in 1980, and I've been with her ever since. But just before that, before I was in Wenatchee, I was in Seattle, and I landed up I got a gig with the number 1 band in town, and it was the first good band I was ever in.
And what band was that?
The Dynamic Logs. They were a legendary Northwest band. And I was only with them for 4 or 5 months, but boy, it was night and day. I mean, you can only play as good as the people that, if you've got a weak link in your band, there's just no way you're going to really sound really good.
And what kind of music did they play?
Oh, God. A lot of originals. Slime in the Video by Frank Zappa. Bermuda Bis Shane by Benny Goodman. It was all over the place. But the band was hot. It was like a 13-piece band. And we just tore the place up. We just tore Seattle up, man. It was really fun. And it got my first taste of being in a really good band. And then I kind of changed how I approached with bands I play in, I got to be kind of happy with the whole thing, or I'll play with you guys, but I'm going to wait for a while. I haven't made up my mind whether I'm sticking around or not. Yeah.
Well, then what's your wife's name?
Nancy.
So you met Nancy in 1980,
Yeah.
and did that change how, because you were moving around quite a bit playing?
Yeah, that did slow it down. We ended up going to Helena, Montana, because I was playing with this country band, and we went to Helena, and that didn't work. So right after that, I got a gig in radio, right out of the blue. It just came, some guy says, "Well, you know a lot about music. You should be a DJ." Well, okay, yeah. I know a guy at a radio station, man. This is so-and-so from KCAP Radio, and we want you to come down. So I go down there, and they have me read some news and something, and I was terrible. You're not very good. But you know what? There's something in there. So I'm going to keep you around. And they put me on Midnight to 6, where I started in radio. And then I did radio did more radio than I was doing, even playing music at times. I was there for probably a year and a half, and then I came back to the coast, came back to Camino with my grandparents, and came up to Mount Vernon and got a gig at KBRC in Mount Vernon. And I was there for 13, 14 years.
Now, KVRC, I know KSVR.
It's KBRC.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, it's a top. It was an easy listening station at the time. Now it's an oldies but goodies station. I think
is that the one down by Walmart?
Yeah.
That station?
I think it's a satellite feed.
Okay.
I think it's live in the morning, and then it's a satellite feed during the day. And they're playing all the stuff that I got told I couldn't play. I was always getting in trouble for the stuff they're playing.
Well, I was telling you, I did a little 6-month stint at the Concrete radio station, and I knew, certain swear words you couldn't play.
Right.
I was just thinking, what was there anything beyond that you couldn't play? What were the rules a lot more strict?
Oh, you wouldn't believe the grief I got for playing the Eurythmics.
Is it certain words?
No, just the groove. Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. It was like 1983, 84. The
Eurythmics?
Oh, no, we can't have that. That's, I'd have to splice guitar solos out of songs. I had to turn the guitar solo down on Goodbye to Love by the Carpenters because it was too rock and roll.
What?
And the music director before me at KBRC got fired because he wouldn't pull I Can't Fight This Feeling by REO. Now, that's a pretty obnoxious song, but it's got that, Gary Rich rap solo in it. And he refused to pull it, so they fired him. So the first thing I did when I came in is I pulled the song because that's the game I had to play.
Oh, wow.
But I was always splicing solos out of songs and things just to get so I could play them on the radio. It was a really weird dance. Consultants, our research says that, 49-year-old women want to hear Neil Diamond at 3:00 every afternoon, blah, blah. It's inane stuff, Or you could play Do You Really Want to Hurt Me by Culture Club, but you couldn't say the name of the band because it didn't sound like Kenny Rogers. It didn't sound wholesome. Culture Club. They kind of really silly stuff,
Yeah.
And now nobody cares.
Yeah.
Thankfully. I mean, there might be somebody out there that still cares, but for the most part, people don't care.
I also, when I was mentioning my show, I had a 2-hour show. Right now, Spencer and I do a 2-hour show. You said that you were on from midnight to 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I guess, are you talking a lot? Did you, I'm not thinking that you had guests in to do interviews, but did you literally just play music for 6 hours straight?
Yeah, you just had to play music, and you had to, whatever you had to say, you had to get it said in the time where the singing hadn't started. So you had to learn how to time whatever you had to say, to. And there were segues between a lot of songs. So, you didn't have to talk then, but you'd have, you'd play music for 20 minutes and then you'd play the commercials and then you come out of it and, that kind of stuff.
And so they told you certain songs, you couldn't play like you said, but I guess because right now, online, I can pick from millions of songs.
Right.
So I guess this is a dumb question, but what was your collection when you were on from midnight to 6? So did you just have a big collection of records you could pull from?
Everything was carded up. You could only play the music that were on these pre-recorded carts because they didn't want you touching the records, and they didn't want you playing B-sides or playing records that they hadn't said was okay to play. Luckily, when I started, I was on a top 40 station, so I was rocking.
Okay.
When I came to Mount Vernon, it turned into adult contemporary.
So they just said from this collection, that's what you can play from.
Right, yeah, they'd have these carts, these they look like 8 tracks.
Oh, okay.
And you'd plug them into the machine, and thing, and every once in a while you'd use a record, but usually you didn't want to use the records because they had cue burn on them from, putting the needle down and getting them ready to start, so, you find old radio records, they always at the beginning go, and then they play.
Well, then so you were there in Montana doing that. How long, you said you were there for about a year?
Yeah, a year and a half, and then I came here and started in '84 at KBRC.
Yeah. Did someone hear you in Helena and said, "Oh, hey, can we steal you for this radio station?"
No, I just walked into KBRC and ran into the right guy and had some radio commercials that I'd made. Because back then, there was no computers. When you made radio commercials, you had to splice tape. You had to do all this stuff, something you could do in 20 seconds on a computer would take you hours to do,
Yeah.
Because, you'd have to time it and get it, you need, rolling rocks or some sound effect or whatever. So you'd have to go find a record and record the rolling rocks and then put them on a tape and then get it to time with you while you were saying this line. And it was really cumbersome.
Wow. So basically you walked in and said, I know how to do this.
Right. Well, I had some tapes to prove it. So I got the gig. And so I was there for 13 years. Yeah. I was on in the morning. I was on in the afternoon sometimes. I was on at night. I did all the shifts there. I did everything, You had to have to type out the commercial logs and all that and send them to NBC and say we played these commercials and
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I was getting paid for 40 hours a week, but I was putting in 80 hours a week. Yeah. It wore me out.
Yeah.
So now when
it's so much easier now.
Yeah, people say, "Hey, man, you want to?" No. The last time I did radio was in 2006 in Petersburg, Alaska.
Oh yeah, you said you went up there after. Yeah. So after your 13 years in Mount Vernon and you left, what did you do after that? Did you go straight to Alaska?
No, I got a gig at Soft Rock Cafe in Bellingham. So I was on there, and then, I had to get a real job. I wasn't really making very good money there. So I got a job at Skagit Transit. And I drove bus for Skagit Transit for 13 years.
Were you just playing in the valley?
Yeah. Gino and the Top Lops, played with Kathy McDonald, Nick
Who's
Viggory.
Kathy McDonald?
A pretty famous singer that never got as famous as she should have been. That's the story of rock and roll. She was from Anacortes. She was born in 1948 in Anacortes. She was a little bit older than me, and she passed away in 2012. I miss her. And she took Janis Joplin's place in Big Brother and the Holding Company. And she also sang with the Stones. And she sang with Joe Cocker. And she sang with Leon Russell. And she sang with Long John Baldry. I mean, she was just she was this little tiny lady that just had this huge voice. You take her into a little room, she was too loud. She didn't need a microphone. But if you take her to like Parker's Ballroom in Seattle, which one night I was her driver, I took her down to Seattle. No, who are you with? Well, I'm Kathy's driver. But she got up with the Dinosaurs, which was a San Francisco band of heavy hitters from the 60s that had this band. And they'd come to Seattle like in the 90s. And she tore the roof off that place. It was amazing. I mean, she just had this huge, huge voice, and she was a babe too. She was an extremely beautiful woman. So
You also played drums for her?
I did play drums with her.
Did you first meet her as you were her driver? And then she's like, "Oh, you're a drummer?"
No, the first time I met her was in 1972 in California, in Watsonville, California, at a concert. It was Big Brother and the Holding Company, Clover, and a band called California. They were like a horn band, Chicago horn band, and no, she was singing for Big Brother and the Holding Company, and I walked up to her and talked to her that night. And then I didn't see her again for 10 years when I moved here. So it was 11 years later. And then we became friends then. And when she passed away, they had a going away party for her at the Highway 99 Club in Seattle. And Nick Vigorino said, "Are you going?" I said, "Well, I was thinking about it." He says, "You got to go, man. Kathy loved you, man. You got to go. You got to go." And I went down there and they let me play at her going away, at her wake party. And I got to do Caledonia, which is an old Louis Jordan song. And I had the best horn section I've ever played with in my life. It was just amazing. I had the sax player for the Kingsmen. I had the sax player for Springfield Rifle and Raven Humphreys. So it was Jeff Beals, Jeff Afton, and Raven Humphrey playing sax, and they knew the song. You know, it's just a 3-chord song, but it has parts. So you know, it comes da 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 da. You know, it's got do 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 do, bow, and man, we just tore it up, and just the house went nuts. And when we got done, the Jerry Miller from the Moby Grape came up and he says, "Wedge, you tore that up." I said, "Well, thanks, Jerry." All right, you know, that was high praise indeed, because Jerry Miller was a great player too.
I was gonna ask, what are some of your top, if you could pick your top 5 gigs or top 5 performances where you just it sounds like that one was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that one was pretty incredible. Playing with Long John Baldry and Kathy Mack at Cascade Pizza in 87 was pretty amazing. Getting to play with Merle Travis when I was 22 in Okanagan, that might be the one that one. He gave me really some really great information that kept me going playing music, because the music business isn't fair. Rock and musicians are out of their minds, me included. You know, everybody's nuts. But the day of the show, they brought Merle Travis. Do you know who Merle Travis was?
No. There's
a style of guitar playing. It's called Travis picking, and Merle was around just before Chet Atkins. And Chet Atkins kind of took Merle Travis picking and kind of took it to a different level. But it sounds like you're playing. It sounds like 2 or 3 guys are playing the guitar at one time. You know, you're playing the chords, but you know where to move your fingers, and you do stuff with your right hand. You go doom bang 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 bang, you know, and anyway, they brought him to this club I was playing in Okanagan called Carpenters. And I put posters up. I was all excited. I'd seen him on Johnny Cash show. I knew who he was, you know. And the day of the show, they said, "Well, Wedge," I wasn't Wedge yet, Mike. My real name's Michael. He goes, "You'll get to play with famous people later. And besides that, you didn't go to the Christmas office party, so you're fired."
What?
Yeah. So I was out. So the second night of the show, my girlfriend and I, we went down to the show, and the bass player admitted, "Well, we gave kind of Mike a bad break, but we think of all the hard work he did putting up posters and stuff. We think he should get to sit in with Mr. Travis. What do you think?" Yeah, let him up. So he let me up. So I think we played Alabama Jubilee or something like that. And we got done. And Merle grabs my cymbal and he goes, "Young man, I've had too much to drink, but you're very good. Do not let these people get you down." And I went, "Yeah." You know, and that was actually probably one of the high points of my life, because I was really down. You know, I'd been, you know, got a big dose of the music business, you know, and got kicked down. And he said, "Nah, man. Kid, you're fine, man. Don't worry about these people. You're okay." Yeah. And I got to tell Marty Stewart that one day. He goes, "I loved that old man." So.
Well, I think that's really important too, to hear that, because it's amazing, just that comment that he gave you kept you going.
Right.
And everyone has that ability to walk up to someone and say something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And another gig that, playing at the Tractor the Crocodile in 1996 with the Wailers.
Oh, I love the Crocodile. Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
with the Fabulous Wailers. That was a high point. What happened there, though, was interesting. Was that I was getting ready to play. I'd done like 3 gigs. We'd already done. We played up in Bellingham, and we played at in Everett, and yeah, no. So it was 3 gigs, and so we were at the Crocodile, and Ned Neltner from Junior Cadillac. That's how I got the gig with the Logs. Was through Ned. He said, "Hey, I'm looking for a gig." Oh well, go over to this bar in Greenwood. They need a drummer.
I feel like a lot of your success and gigs, it starts with, I know a guy.
Yeah. You just move around. You got a network. You
Yes.
do. I don't jam much anymore. I don't like doing that very much anymore, and that's networking.
Yeah.
But I do it somewhat. But anyway, Ned was there, and a guy named Stan Foreman, who was the head guy at Capitol Records in Seattle. And I knew Stan through radio. So I walked up and said, "Hey, guys, how you doing?" "Oh, Wedge, yeah." And I'd been telling them I knew how to play drums. And they were blowing me off, They were just like, "Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm glad you know how to play drums, Wedge." Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So talking to Ned, and he goes, "Man, it's going to be great seeing the Wailers, man," because he'd grown up with those guys. And I said, yeah. I said, "It's going to be great." He said, but I got to go. He goes, "What do you mean you got to go?" I said, "I got to go." And he goes, "No, the Wailers are going to start playing." I said, "Yeah, I know. I got to go." And he goes, "You mean you're playing with the Wailers?" And I said, "Yeah." And he grabbed my hand, grabbed my arms, and he looked me in the eye, and he won't let go. And he goes, "You know that's a effing honor, right? You know that, don't you?" And I said, yeah, Ned, I know. He says, "Okay, da-da-da." So I got up there, and we tore the place up, and it was really fun. I've got a board tape of that night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that's got one. I probably could bootleg it if I wanted to, but I it's not my style.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and the Merle thing, those are probably the high gigs for me.
Yeah. So then how did you make your way up to Alaska?
I was playing with Bad Dog Blues, Andy Cook, and he had some shows. He always goes up to Alaska, and he had some shows booked at Keto's Cave in Petersburg. So we got on an Alaskan ferry and hightailed it up to Alaska and did the whole summer up there. And then while I was there, I went to the local FM public radio station, and they let me be on 5 days a week. So I was on 5 nights a week at Keto's Cave, and I'm on 5 days a week, and I was on in all the shops. And I knew how to mix music, and they weren't telling me what to play. So that was the best time I ever had being in radio, because I didn't have a consultant running their theories down my throat. So, I would play the Beatles, and then I'd play the Rolling Stones doing The Last Time, and then I'd play I'd say some call letters, and I'd play Johnny Cash. And then, 5 songs later, I'm playing Charlie Parker with strings, and then I'm playing Bob Marley, and then I'm back to playing, and I was playing Wailers stuff. I was being shameless up there. There's that Wedge Michaels guy with the Wailers, just milking it, because I knew that was going to be the last hurrah for me, really. I mean, my wife keeps trying to tell me to go be on radio again, but I just I kind of been there, and I did it, and I went out on a high point up there. I didn't, nobody was jumping on me to do this and do that. I was doing big band shows, country shows, rock and roll shows. It was great. They hired us up there in Petersburg. At the end of our run there, they hired us to play in Port Protection, which is like 45 miles across the bay. And they came over with a ship and put our gear in the hold of the ship and took us over there. And when we got there, all those people, all the hippies at Port Protection had been listening to me all summer. I was a legend over there. "Are you Wedge? Yeah, you rock, man." It's just a big fish in a small pond thing. But they treated us it was wonderful. So I ended my summer that way up there, and then I had to come home because, it's going to get cold. And
Shane mentioned, he said, ask Wedge about the time that Evel Knievel got you drunk.
Ooh. Ooh.
I was like, this has got to be a good story.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was in Joe Henderson and Nashville Trend. Yeah.
That's the name of the band?
Yeah. It was just a gig. It was just a gig. Nice people, but just a gig. And we were playing at this place, and I can't remember the name of it now. It was in Butte. That's where Evel Knievel was from. And we were sitting out front of the club one day. This is like 1978. And Joe goes, "Oh, look, there's Evel Knievel." So we all look, and there's Knievel in his Stutz Bearcat with a mink-lined trunk. You know, it was this really super deluxe fancy car. I mean, that guy, he was a rock and roll motorcycle guy. You know, he really pushed the limits of everything. You know, and he as soon as he saw us, he could tell that things weren't quite. He stepped on it. He got away.
Yeah.
So Joe took off after him, and that's what he picked up on. That these guys are gonna, you know, something funny's gonna happen. So we're going down the road, and I'm sitting in the back going, "Oh, come on, man, don't chase this guy, man. Jeez, you know, shut up, Wedge." So we get there, we get down, we go around the corner. I think we were able to see where he turned, and we pulled in, and the electric gate was closing, and they were parking his car, and there's Evel Knievel. He's got his cape on and everything.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's Evel Knievel, you know. And Gary, the guitar player, gets out, and he goes, "Hey, Evel." And he goes, "Yeah, what do you want?" And he goes, "I want to see your car." "You want to see my car?" "Yeah. It's right there." Turned around, walked in the house, and closed the door. Gary goes, "Oh, man." I'm paraphrasing. But, "Oh, man." Then I said, "Serves you right." And he goes, "Shut up, Wedge." So we get down there that night to play. We're playing the gig. It's the first set, and Knievel walks in, and everybody's going, "Wow, man, it's Evel Knievel." You know, looking, you know. We take a break. I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Knievel," and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "My name's Wedge." I said, "Just wanted to apologize." I said, "I'm chasing you down the road today." I said, "I thought that was bad form." He goes, "That doesn't matter, man." He says, "That comes with being famous." He said, "But, you know, but thanks, man. I really appreciate it. What are you drinking?" "Really?" "Yeah, what are you drinking?" "Well, I'll have a shot of tequila, you know." "What are you drinking?" "Oh, I'm having wild turkey." "Okay, well, get him a wild turkey. I'll have a shot of tequila." So he had a couple shots of tequila and hung out with him, went up and played. And everybody's going, "Wow, man, you going to introduce us to him?" And I'll have to think about that. I don't know about this. So next break came along, went out there, and, "Hey, Mr. Knievel." "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Get this guy another shot of tequila." "Yeah." I said, "Can I hold your cane?" And he had a cane. He always had a cane because he got hurt a lot. And in the top of his cane, it was this jewel-encrusted thing. It was these really, it was a skull thing. And it had jewels and things in it and real expensive stuff. But if you turn the thing, he had booze in there. And whenever he jumped, he always took a shot before he jumped. Because Knievel was doing all that stuff. This is long before plastic bikes and all this lightweight stuff, you know. He was doing it with old school gear. Everything was made of metal, wow. You know. And he got hurt a lot. He almost got killed a lot. And so, anyway, the end of the night, they said, "Aren't you going to introduce it to him?" I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "You guys are idiots, man." "Shut up, Wedge." Yeah.
So basically you toured with other people for several years, played with other people for several years. And then when did you start like making your music like for yourself?
First time I wrote a song was in '82 in Helena. And I just recorded it. I'm in a band called the Phantom Hippies. We don't play live. We sort of do. Like we've got a gig in a couple weeks. It's at the recording studio in Mount Vernon with John Holmes' place. So we're playing there, and he's in a band called Pacific Twang. But it's me, him, Mark Warren, and a friend of ours named Bill Kimball. and we're doing nothing but original music. And these were the first guys that I could find that could play that song. And it wasn't rocket science, but I couldn't get anybody to play what I heard in my head.
So you wrote the song in 82, but you're just kind of publishing it now?
Yeah, it's called, my wife doesn't really like the song. But it's
Is
like
that what it's called? My wife doesn't like this
no,
song.
it's an old Louis, it's got an old Louis Jordan kind of walking bass swing thing. It's called Baby Spend the Night Forever. That's what it's called. The night is right, no matter what the weather.
And it's on this CD?
Yeah, no, it's on this one.
Oh, the
Phantom Hippies. But yeah, that was the first time I wrote a song, and since then I've probably written 25 songs now.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the thing with the Spend the Night Forever, I couldn't get anybody to play instead of playing the bass do 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 do, I wanted it do 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 do, like an old rock and roll record.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be swing, but I wanted it to rock, and I learned that from the Guess Who, and there's a couple Guess Who songs that do that. But anyway, I got these guys to play this thing, and we got a good recording of it. So I finally got it recorded.
And so you said you don't really play live, but you do have a show coming up, but you're playing in a recording studio?
No, we're playing out in the backyard. There's going to be a backyard party. It's going to be a backyard party
cool.
with like 5 bands.
Oh, wow.
And then the next week is the Hobo Hoedown, which is in Burlington.
I have a question about this one song, Redneck Boy from Cedar Woolley.
That's why I was singing when I was asking earlier. You should play that song.
So is this about you?
It's sort of, kind of, yeah, I'm a redneck boy from Cedar Woolley. I don't sing nothing but woolly bully, rocking and rolling on a Cedro Saturday night. My 8 tracks cranking. I want my fun, flying down 20, searching for the sun. I love my woolly woman, gonna party down every day, because I'm a redneck. I'm a redneck.
Is the Canadian stomp rock like a homage to all the Canadian bands that you love?
Not all of them, but the spirit of Canadian rock, yeah.
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 Who would you say like your top favorite Canadian bands are?
I love
Chilliwack?
I love Chilliwack.
Yeah.
I love Chilliwack. The Guess Who. I like Gordon Lightfoot. Mother Tucker's Yellow Duck. There's a very obscure Vancouver band from the late 60s. I really, really like that band. I like the Tragically Hip. I hear lots of. If you're Canadian, I automatically will kind of automatically listen, because there's something in the water up there.
Yeah.
Canadians there's just a little bit something there that's not quite in everybody else's music. I can't put a finger on it. For a long time they kept trying to be Americans. There was that stigma. The Guess Who kind of kicked all that down. You didn't have to live in the United States to make it big.
Yeah.
Burton ended up eventually moving to L.A., but he left L.A. He's back. He's living in Moose Jaw now.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, my friend Ryan McMahon, he was touring with him last year and had some pretty good stories.
Burton's tearing it up.
Yeah.
He's 77 years old.
Yeah. Oh, they're playing giant shows too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then him and Randy are going to go out and do the Guess Who on a boat cruise in February or something down in the Bahamas or something.
They are? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. They're just going to use Burton's backup band, the Carpet Frogs.
Yeah.
Music business isn't fair. Art or anything. Life isn't fair. I mean, you're minding your own business, walking down the street, and you get hit by a car. Stuff happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I love about the local music scene. It's like 99% of the people are out here because they're passionate.
Right.
They're, like you said, they're working all day and they're gigging all night.
Right. Well, Burton Cummings said it. He said, you've got to do your own stuff. You're not going to, you might make it, but if you're just doing covers and doing other people's stuff, the odds of you getting it, getting anywhere. So, the other thing Burton says was, when people see me, he says, I just want people walking away thinking, that guy really means it. And I really do approach the way I play, because I'm not the best drummer in the world. There's no way I can't play like Neil Peart or Buddy Rich, but I mean it.
Yeah.
and I'm into what I'm doing when I'm doing it, and I'm going to drive that beat, you're going to know wherever it's hitting that's where it is, But
how did you meet the people in your band, Phantom Hippies?
Oh, I've known them forever. I knew Mark. Funny, I knew Mark Warren. First time I met Mark Warren was in Oroville in '72. Him and Carr Johnson, they were over there picking apples. And when I moved here, and see, I didn't remember that. When I moved over here, I got this gig playing with these guys we were doing a biker party, practicing for a biker party. And looked at him and I said, man, I've met you somewhere before. I've seen you somewhere. Oh, yeah, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So one day we were in the studio talking about things, and Orville came up, and Mark goes, oh, yeah, I used to know Maggie and da-da, blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah, I told you before I knew who you were. And I said, I was there. He goes, wait a minute. They used to talk about Michael. I said, yeah, that's me. So there's this circle game that happened, and actually John and Mark all knew Maggie and June and all the people that I knew in Orville from hitchhiking over there and stuff. So there was this thing going on that nobody was aware of, that, it was just, everybody was younger and,
Yeah.
So
that's how you knew Mark.
Yeah, and John owned the studio, and he recorded my CD, and I knew him from before that because my sister was married to one of his best friends, and then Bill, the bass player, that's somebody they knew, and came in, and he was just the perfect guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of the studio?
John Holmes Studio, I guess. It's not like a commercial venture, I don't think. He does record people.
Yeah.
An album that he recorded there that's really, really good, it's local stuff, is Birds View Bluegrass.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, those guys, man, they were amazing. They don't play together anymore, but man, they were a killer, and that got recorded there.
Oh, cool.
All original tunes, bluegrass tunes.
Yeah. I think it's so great that it's a lot easier to record these days. Like, I was talking to somebody about, back in the day, like this giant price point, and you had 8 hours or whatever, or 2 days. And we were recording here. I think we were doing bass for Spencer's band, and it took a couple tries, and maybe like at one point someone had to stop, and I thought, gosh, what if you go into the studio and you're just off that day? And then you have to spend all this time, and then you're getting frustrated and you're getting anxious because the clock is ticking, and you're like, I'm wasting so much money right now. So I'm so thankful that we have this option to come in and record the bass when you have time, and you're not burning money.
Well, there's stuff you can do when you don't have to worry about that stuff that you wouldn't. There's things that were done on my CD that Canadian stomp rock. There's a guitar lick that Mark plays, and we were recording it, and I walked by him, and he went, and I went, what is that? He goes, oh, it's just some practice thing I did. I said, well, I'll have that. He goes, really? I said, yeah. So we recorded it. So we put it on there. We put it in this space. And then the next time that same space came up, I didn't want to repeat it. So I had John turn the file backwards. And it went, instead of going, some weird feedbacky thing. And then I had him extend it. I had him add some notes that were being played and put it on there. That's an old Beatle trick,
Oh.
That was that they did a lot of that stuff on Revolver, and you just turn files backwards. So when it comes around again, it's doing this different thing, and that's all it is. It's just the guitar lead turned backwards with a few notes added to it to make it a little bit longer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What's it says, please no smoking on stage on the cover. What's that all about? In my travels,
I've been to the Monterey Pop Festival stage a couple times in Monterey, where you know about the Monterey Pop Festival.
No.
Came out in It was in '67. It was actually considered. It's really Magic Mountain was like a week before, and that was actually really the first really done well rock festival. But Monterey was, everybody really nailed it, and everybody played for free except for Ravi Shankar. But they had the Who and Hendrix and all these people play there, Mamas and the Papas and Paul Butterfield Blues Band, and it was just an amazing thing. So it's right next to the airport in Monterey, and when you go in there, it's amazing. They don't have a cordoned off. They have music there all the time. They have the Monterey Jazz Festival and a bunch of other stuff there too, but they got the folding chairs with the sawdust on the ground. The only thing different from 67 is that they've got satellite dishes on the roof. Otherwise, it looks like it did in 1967. And you can walk right up there, and you can see where somebody took a knife and wrote Jimmy on the floor, and you can see the burn mark where Hendrix burned his guitar.
Really?
Yeah, you can see it. You can stand right there. And I've seen the movie enough times. I know where the drum set for the Who stuff was. And I know I had a good friend of mine, Larry Knechtel, who was in the Wrecking Crew, piano player. And he was playing with the Mamas and the Papas. And I knew where he was sitting. So I was over, and he had just passed away. So I went there twice. And the second time I was there, I just went, I got to have something from this stage. And I looked and I saw there were 2 no smoking signs. And I took one. It's in my computer room at home.
So this sign is from
the Monterey Pop Festival stage.
Wow, that is so cool.
My wife wasn't very happy with me. Wasn't she funny? But it's just a piece of paper with typing on it. It's not like a high-end sign.
No, but that's incredible.
But it's from the Monterey Pop Festival. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I went, man, I got to have something,
Now look at everything else. I love your jacket with the fringe and the very loud socks.
Yeah. You see that bass drum?
Yeah.
I got that bass drum in Omak in 1975. My girlfriend, her son was going to the Indian school, and the Indians had this drum in the closet with a calfskin head on it. And I looked at, and so I came back, next time I came up to pick Dougie up, I had a big shiny red bass drum that really went boom, really, really loud. And I said, I'll trade you. And they liked the other drum better, so I got that drum. That drum's 110 years old. Yeah, it's a Ludwig and Ludwig. So it's a white man's drum, but it was on the reservation for 50 years before I got it. And I've had it ever since. And that's the drum I use on Canadian Stomp Rock. And when you hit that thing, it sounds like an Indian drum. Yeah.
And you said that it was calfskin?
Yeah, it's calfskin.
That's
what drums used to be made out of.
They're not anymore.
No, they use plastic now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back in the old days, if you had a calfskin head and it rained, you had to cover your drum up really quick or it would make the head all soggy because it would suck up the water.
Oh.
And actually, let me see here if you can see it. I got the rip covered up. There's a rip on it.
Oh.
That I was doing a line dance thing in LaConner one night with Nick Vigorino, and I was beating. People were following me around, and I was beating on the drum, and I ripped the head. So I took some shoe grease on the head and made it pliable again, because what had happened is it got dried out. So I dried it out, and then the rip, I took dental floss and sewed it back together. And it's still that way. I have it at home. Yeah.
I love all the attention to detail, Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, my son's girlfriend, Trouble, she took that. That was
the picture?
That was the first shot too.
Does your son play music too?
No, but he's a huge music. He loves music. I love Fanny Alger at the Edison.
Oh, they're so much fun.
That's a great band.
They're just fun.
I'm so lucky to know those guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm still friends with them. One of my favorite Fanny Alger stories is when they were like high school guys, and they were playing at the Rexville, right? And I came out there, and these moms were walking out with their kids, and they're mortified looking. They're dragging their children out of this wild rock and roll thing that's going on in the Rexville, right? And they're on stage going, "I want to know what's up your butt." I loved it. I was just like, oh my God, these guys. and they're still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they love it.
And they wear uniforms. That's old school. That's how it used to be done. Nobody showed up in jeans and whatever. Everybody, you wore a uniform. You know what's really important for me when I play with people? I don't need to be the star. I don't. I just want to come in and do the gig and play music, but I want to be introduced on stage. I want the band introduced. It's important to give everybody their kudos when they're playing. You don't need to be it's just it's the courteous thing to do, but a lot of bands don't do it. I'll get on stage and I'll be back there going, "What's the name of the band?" Yeah, come on, intro the band. Oh yeah, by the way, blah, blah. It happens a lot, and I tend to lose interest in bands that do that, very quickly, because they're not paying attention to the show business part of it. It's important to talk to the crowd and say the names of the band and hello, and I kind of I've seen videos of Merle Haggard not really saying anything between songs and Bob Dylan doing the same stuff, but I think it's important to talk to people when you're playing. Not all the time, because you got to get on business of playing music, but I'll lose interest in the playing of the band if there's no interplay with the.
Well, especially local. I mean, no one's making lots of money doing this, or any, and so it's at least give them recognition.
Right. Yeah, I like being diversified too. I wrote a song called Punk Song, just sloppy Northwest rock and roll. But now I've got another one I just wrote called "Don't Let the Old Man Win," and it's a bluegrass tune basically with a funky beat in the middle. Anyway, thank you for.
Yeah, thanks for coming over. I love that you're still very active.
I'm not
the music scene.
I'm not going to stop until I have a stroke or something.
I love that.
Because all I ever wanted to do was play music, and I got told I couldn't a lot when I was younger, and I'm just not going to be told no.
Yeah, you're one of those people, like, if you tell me no, I'll do it twice and take pictures.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming over, Wedge.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.